Welcome everybody, Kelly from KB Auto Tech and Adventure. Today we're in my shop. I got my 3rd gen 4Runner back there. We got Creo's 3rd gen 4Runner here. We're going to install the eBay Amazon Snorkel. I've gone ahead, I've got mine done already. You can see it back there, it's already done. We're going to do Creo's and I'm going to take you through that step by step. So stay tuned, watch the video. Thanks so much. Okay, so we're going to get going. I have this vehicle lifted in the air, but you do not need to lift the vehicle, so you don't need a hoist or anything like that. So don't worry about that. So let's go ahead. We're going to start in the fender well. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Okay, so one of the first things that we have to do is we need to remove this inner fender panel. Now, being that these are old, some of them have some, missing screws like his does here. Yours might have all the screws. So you can see there's one right there, it's missing. That one's there, it's missing. That one there is missing. But we do have the ones along here. So we're gonna need to get rid of these. There's one hiding right back in there, one right there, and one right in the front. So one thing that I should add, both of our trucks have front bumpers on, so the front corners may or may not look a little bit different than yours. Obviously if yours is still factory bumper, so our corners will be a little bit different, but same thing, bolts and clips. So now we get on to basically the only real tricky thing that we have to do is these little clips that hold this fender on. Got all those bolts removed, so we're looking at that one right there. Now in between, underneath there, trying to point that out, underneath there is a clip that we have to disengage. So we're going to need to do that here and here. That way we can just pull this down. We don't have to completely remove the whole thing, but as long as we can remove it and gain access to this general area right in here, then we can do what we need to do to get that snorkel in. So I have the panel lowered down. Basically what we're fighting is these clips here. So it's basically a little square clip like this, and it has the 2 tangs on it like that. How this works is this goes through the plastic like that and pushes into the body. Then that goes through right there, and then the screw goes into it. So essentially you can't lower this down. You can't lower this down because it is clipped in, even once the screw's out. So they're a little bit of a pain in the butt. Luckily, we only have to do the front 2, and then we can just tuck that down out of the way like that, and we're ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so what you're gonna see next now is this air intake pipe right in here. It just leads into the back of the air box, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna remove that. There's 2 10mm. Now we'll go ahead and quickly take out the air box. So this guy has to come out. We'll just remove this pipe, it'll make it a little bit easier. There's a 10mm clamp right here. You can spin that off. 10mm clamp there. It's a little bit tight, but we should be able to work this out and just sort of make some room for ourselves. We don't really need that completely out of the way, just as long as it's like that. There's a clamp here on this hose. We can pinch it, dropped it, but we can pull that off. Move that out of the way. The airflow meter right here, it has a squeeze connector. A little bit tight, we'll squeeze that and put it out of the way. Next we have 3 12mm bolts, one here, one down there, and another one right there. We'll quickly grab that socket and we'll undo that. So one back here, one right in the bottom, and this top one right here. Now the box should be free. Fortunately, he's got some wiring on here I gotta get rid of. Guess we'll have to seal those holes as well to make sure that they don't get water in them. But let's get this out of the way and we'll remove the box and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so we got those bolts undone. We've got the connector out of the way, and we can go ahead and just pull this out. Shouldn't be a big deal. And we will go ahead and just place this off to the side. All right, so this piece right in here we need to remove. His bolts were already missing. The piece is there, and we will just go ahead and pull that through, and that's where the snorkel is going to come through. All right, so here we go. We're going to get down to the serious business. So here's the template, and this is the most important part of this whole video. This template is wrong. I feel sorry for whoever buys this kit and tries to drill the holes in this template. They're 100% incorrect. The good news is the little hole that guides you to cut the big hole in the fender, that one is correct. So we're going to go ahead, tape this down, and I will show you exactly the position that I laid it out in and what we're going to do to make these holes correct. Okay, so I got the template on, and let me show you. So this is the hole that we're going to be drilling because we need to cut the large hole into the fender. Now how I have this lined up is along the top edge here, we're basically flush until we get to right about here, and it sort of is hanging over just a little bit. When we get to here, we're basically flush or a tiny bit short, but by the time we get to here, we have a little bit of overhang, and we're basically ready to move on to the next step. So I might add, so these are the mounting holes for the snorkel. These are incorrect. We will deal with that after. For now, let's center punch this hole right here. Make sure we got a nice solid mark right in there. And we're going to drill a pilot hole. We're going to drill a 1/8 hole in there, and then we're going to get the 3.5 inch hole saw, and we're going to cut this open. All right, so we have our pilot hole drilled right here, and we're going to use this 3.5 inch hole saw right here. It has obviously it has a drill bit in there, keeps you into your pilot hole. That's the reason why we drill that. The fender actually cuts quite easily, believe it or not, but you have to be aware because obviously we have this curve right in here. So we have this curve right in here, and we want to make sure that we don't miss, or I shouldn't say miss, just that we're on it nicely. So anyways, just take your time, and away we go. Well, we've got the hole cut, no turning back now. So anyways, we need to get on to the next step. The one thing, the snorkel, I find doesn't quite fit in here exactly with that hole cut. I have found on a couple of these now that I've done is that on the back corners, you almost need to square out the back corners. So sort of like that and like that. Helps it fit in so much nicer. Let me just grab that and I'll show you what I mean. So I got the snorkel here, and you can see sort of the shape of it at the back. It is technically 3.5 inches, but the shape of it doesn't allow you to quite install it. If you put it through, you can't see it here, but the back end of it, it just doesn't pass through. You could kind of force it, but in reality, you'll never see this metal anyways. So what I will do is I will grind this away and make sure we leave this on here. We need this to be, and we need this template to stay while we fit that on there, and I'll show you why. Okay, so we have a couple of different things happening here. We got the hole cut, we got it ground, we have it installed. Right in the back here, I'm going to show it here with the other camera. Right in the back here, we have the mounting bracket. I have the bolts installed, and we're going to end up by needing to drill a few holes there and put in some rivets to mount that bracket. We know this thing's basically in position now. The hole's through, clears the antenna, and most importantly, it clears the door. You can see the back side of the bracket there. So we're holding this into position, and what the whole reason we're going to do this is we know those mounting holes are incorrect in the template. We need to get them in the right position. So now that we know this is relatively in the exact same position where we want it, or we're in the position we want it, we're going to tape the template to the back side of this. So as you can see, I've already prepared all my tape. So I'm going to go around in a whole bunch of spots, and I'm going to tape the template to here. All right, I had to put a whole bunch of different tape on here. I guess Creel put a coating on here. He sprayed something on there, so tape wasn't sticking all that well. But so what I've done, I got this thing all lined up, and we have the template taped to this. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to undo the original green tape that we had put on the template. And one thing you're going to want to note is you're going to, you could make some markings on exactly where you took it off from. but you need to be relatively close. We're gonna need to reinstall this after, and you'll see how we do that here. So I'm just gonna peel all the tape off. That's holding the template onto the vehicle that we originally installed in the beginning. All right, now we're gonna remove this, and we want our template to stay attached to the body. And I will show you, and I'll show you why. We're gonna go to the bench. All right, so we're on the bench here, and as you can see, none of these holes line up. That's completely just ridiculously off. So is that one. This one, you don't even see it at all. These two, you can see a little tiny bit. So what we'll do here is I'm gonna take a razor blade, and I'm just gonna complete these holes here. So we want these to be relatively accurate, because this is what we're gonna be using to drill the holes in the fender. Okay, so I got all the holes marked out. I mean, you can just see how horribly off these are. Yeah, if you feel bad if someone just did this without knowing. So these ones are slightly off, that one's way off, and these are just completely out of lunch. So now that we got these marked off, we can take this off, unattach the snorkel from the template. All right, now we got the template removed and we got it reinstalled in the vehicle. We put it back exactly in the position where we had it, flush up here, a little bit over there, and hanging off a little bit. We have our new marks that we made attached there. So we're just gonna put a little center mark for them. If we get these a hair off, we can always grind the hole a tiny bit bigger, but we wanna get them as close as possible. It's fine. All right, so at this point we can go ahead and remove the template. We're not gonna need it anymore. Okay, so what I have here is a 21/64 drill bit. You could go a little bit larger if you wanted to. You're never really gonna see behind here anyways. It just gives you a little bit of play in case you missed a little bit, but we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna drill these out. All right, so now that we got everything drilled out, we got everything marked, one thing we make sure we have to do is get rid of all the sharp edges on all the holes on the front side and the back side. So you can use a round file and a flat file. You can even reach in from behind and underneath and sort of hit it with the file. I'm gonna go through and I'm going to do all around the whole edge. I know once it's on, it won't matter, but we don't wanna get caught on it. It's really sharp. Make sure you take care of that before you move on to the next step. Okay, so I got all the holes cleaned up. We got all the slag and whatnot, all the sharp bits away. We've gone ahead, taken the snorkel and then installed the studs. We're gonna do a pre-fit. We're just gonna make sure, see how the holes line up and make sure to see if, if we gotta grind or drill them anymore. So we'll slip it in. Well, I could install it this way. It fits, it's on. It feels like it has a little bit of tension, so I think maybe I'm gonna go to the holes and I'm just gonna elongate them just a little bit, just so it has a little bit more play in it and fits a tiny little bit better. Okay, so I spent about 1 minute just grinding out the holes a little bit. Fits a little bit nicer. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get ready for the install. So once this is inside the vehicle, it's gonna look something like this. Unfortunately, we can't put this on ahead of time. We have to do it as we're going through the fender, and it can be a little bit of a pain. I just sort of push this on here. Let's see if I can pull this off here. So what we're gonna end up by wanting to do is we're gonna put a bead of silicone around this part and a bead of silicone just around the inside. And as we put it together, that will seal that, and then we're gonna put a clamp around that as well. And we sort of have to hold this in the half position, sort of like half in, half out. Sort of half in, half out. It's kind of a pain in the ass. What's best is we kind of half leave that in there, and then we will take this, take the snorkel at the same time and put it through and basically try to mate the two at the same time. So it's kind of it's a pain, it's a little bit tough, but once it goes, it will go. So we'll slip this through the hole here. It's hard to kind of do it at the same time. You need multiple hands. So this is where someone could help, I guess. All right, so there it is installed. We got the rubber hose attached to the to the snorkel there. We got the clamp all tightened down. Next, we're gonna have to go ahead and we're gonna have to tighten down these bolts. So what we're gonna need, we're gonna put the nut and the washer on there, and we're gonna reach up in there with a ratcheting wrench, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna tighten all of those down. Once we've done that, we can move on to the next step. But first, you gotta battle through this. It's a little bit tight, kind of sucks a little bit, but just, you know, stay patient, just keep working at it. Use a ratcheting wrench if you can, and get those all tightened down. All right, so we got the snorkel bolted up mostly. We got to go ahead and we're going to mark this upper bracket for the mount here. So we're basically just going to mark these like this. There we go, and then we will just remove the bracket itself. No, we don't even, well, yeah. We may as well move it here. We'll just get it right out of the way. We're gonna center punch and we're gonna drill those to the size of the rivet. Just double check and I will let you know the size of that one in a moment. I can't think of it offhand, but let's get those center punched and drilled. All right, so we've gone ahead, got these holes all drilled out here. We got the 3 of them there. We're gonna go ahead and we will put this bracket back on like this and put it on there, and then we're gonna go ahead and rivet it down. Before we do that, we're gonna end up by putting silicone in all of these holes. I don't think this goes into the interior of the vehicle, but it might go into the void. I'm not really sure, but I just wanna seal them up anyways. So we will just loosely put these in here, finger tight, so we can move it around if we need to. Take the silicone, I'm just gonna spread it around. I'm gonna put it right in this hole and just spread it around there a little bit. Just like that. Then we will take this and just place it over there. All right, so we got those 3 rivets in, and we got the 3 bolts back in. We'll just tighten these back down, and then we'll continue on and we'll make sure the rest of the snorkel is tightened down, and we'll move on to the airbox. While we're here, we may as well put the breather part, or whatever you want to call it, the hat on. Just line it up straight to wherever you like it, obviously. Put your clamp on there, and then just tighten this guy down. It's pretty hard plastic, so you can go ahead and give it a good crank down. So it's not really going to go anywhere. You know, just make sure you line it up all nice and straight, however you like it. And there, that thing's on. Okay, so we got the snorkel mounted, we got the top on, we have the rubber piece installed onto the snorkel as well. We're gonna get ready to go onto the airbox here. One thing that you're gonna want to notice is that this airbox has, let's see, about 4 different holes in the bottom. Let's see if we can get that to zoom in. Like there, I think right here, and also right there. So essentially those are all gonna let air, water into the box. So they're sitting on the bottom. So if you can see the shape of the box there. Yeah, basically, so compressor kicked on. Hold on a second, we'll hold that thought. All right, so we've sealed those up, got that done. Now we're gonna go ahead and get this installed, the rubber hose around the box. We're gonna need to put a bead around here as well. All right, so it looks like we lost the last clip, a couple errors there. So unfortunately, you don't get to see what we did. We installed the airbox. Obviously we had to get the airbox connected to the rubber pipe. We put silicone around that pipe and the clamp is there. As we put it in, we put our hand inside the airbox and basically guided the hose onto it. It's a bit of a battle. You got to stretch the hose a little bit. We put the silicone on there, of course. Stretched it in place as we installed at the same time, and then reinstalled the air pipe as well. In reality, that pretty much wraps up most of the install. I'll just quickly show you a quick overview, and that's basically it. All right, so that pretty much wraps up the install. We got this snorkel on, we got it tightened, we got the top done. All we have to do left that I didn't show in the video is put in the plastic trim underneath the wheel well. No big deal, just put your clips back in and put your bolts back in there. As you can see, I got mine done over there. We got this one done over here. They're both looking pretty good. I'm gonna link in the description a video you may or may not have seen of this truck where we almost drowned this truck. So the snorkels definitely will come in handy if we try to do something like that again. But anyways, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.